Today on the First Time Storytelling broadcast, my guest is Meghan Pherrill. Meghan is a meditation and yoga teacher and the creator of Balance by Meghan, a platform designed to inspire you to begin and maintain your yoga, health, and wellness journey. Meghan is here to share the story of the first time she went cage diving with sharks. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
All right, I cannot wait to hear the story. So let's go ahead and let's frame your story, because people, first thing they're probably wondering is what inspired you? What drove you to want to try out cage diving or diving in a cage with sharks?
Yeah, so it seems a little, I guess, funny coming from a meditation and yoga teacher. It seems like such an extreme adventure to get into. But for me, I like Shark Week is my Christmas. I live for that week every single time it comes on Discovery Channel. And I've always been super, super passionate about the ocean. I love being in water. I love being in the heat. I'm just outside of Toronto. So unlike you in Las Vegas, we actually have had some cool weather lately. So I'm always trying to get to the heat. And there's never been a fear for me to be in the ocean. I know some people like don't even want to dip their toes in because they're like, I'm so scared. But for me, it's never been an issue. And every time I see Shark Week, I'm like, look how beautiful these animals are. For me, I love dolphins, but sharks are like a very close number two. So we went to Hawaii my husband and I went to Hawaii last April, so 2019, pre-COVID. And when we went there, I was like, if all we do is lay on the beach and we don't do anything else, we have to go cage diving with sharks. If anyone is familiar with Shark Week, then you know that Ocean Ramsey is one of the big Shark Week experts, that she lives out on Oahu. And I was like, we got to go check her out. We got to go swim with sharks. And my husband was like not into it, but he was also like, I'm okay if we don't go. But I was like so gung-ho about doing it. So we got there on a Tuesday and we went cage diving with sharks on a Friday. And it was so synchronistic how everything happened. And that's how, like, it's always been a thing. I'm like, I have to go swim with the sharks. So we're better placed than Hawaii, maybe Australia or South Africa, but Hawaii was pretty unreal for cage diving.
All right. Well, awesome. So I'm curious because I don't feel either way about sharks. So I'm just curious if we have more of the story. Like, do you like what is it about them? Like, what is your attraction to them? Like,
yeah, I think it's just like any creature in the ocean. It's like, for me, ocean is my home. So it's just, they're part of it. And I think they get such a bad rep. And when you look at them on TV or even just, in person looking at the ocean, it's like, they're just such majestic, huge creatures that in reality, like, you can get killed more getting in your car and driving down the highway or the street. And I think there's such a fear about them that I went the opposite way. It was like, how can we break the stigma around sharks and the fear of them? They're beautiful. They're so majestic. And I wanted to be in the water with them to see if that's how they are.
all right. So then let's take us to you wake up that Friday morning. What happens?
So jacked. I am so jacked. Like, just even the day before, it's like a 12-hour time difference between where I am and there. And it didn't even faze me. I was like, nah, we're doing this. So we get up, we have breakfast. I can't even remember where we were going. I was just so focused on diving with the sharks. It was first thing in the morning, and we get down to, there's a place in Oahu where there's like a marina. So we go there and, we're like an hour and a half earlier. I was just so excited to be there. And so we go there, we wait, and the lady comes out and she goes, we actually don't know if we'll be able to take you out today. The water is so choppy. We've had to cancel a ton of shark dives this week. Like, I'm going to wait for the guys to come in, but I just be prepared for this not to happen. So I was like really upset about it. And then we come in and the guys are like, there's sharks out. If you guys are interested, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but like, if you guys are ready to go, we'll go. So there was 8, 9 of us that went on, and the guys were they were amazing. They were both one was born and raised in Hawaii. Another one was from like Philadelphia, who had moved there. So we get on the boat, and it is like,
Was your husband like, honey, can we not do this? Or did he know better?
He was actually pretty excited at this point, because I feel like my energy was so amped up and I was just so pumped. For him though, he was like, it's funny because he's always been nervous about becoming sick on a boat on the ocean. So we get our like gravel pills and whatever. And I have never had an issue until the year before. We were actually in Barbados, and we just went on a cruise, and it was the first time I was ever like super sick on the water. And it was so bumpy, and we're going out there, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so amped up, but I'm trying not to like feel the waves as they like move us around. And we get out, and we're about 500 meters into the ocean. Like, you look over, and besides shark fins, you can't see anything. And there were so many sharks. And the guy's like, yeah, this is generally, we cage dive with Galapagos, hammerheads, and the occasional tiger shark will come through. No, unfortunately, no great whites, which I was upset about because those are the ones I wanted to cage dive with. But I was like, cool, hammerheads are amazing, tiger sharks, how cool. Galapagos, they're very cool looking sharks. So we look over the edge, and there are like 14 fins in the water. And the guy throws the cage in, and he's like, so how it's going to work is I have to lead you through this safety procedure. Here's your snorkel gear. We're going to attach the cage to the boat to get you in. And then because it's so bumpy out here, we have to release the cage and like float away from you guys. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to leave us in the middle of the ocean, like 500 meters down. Like, that's insane. And so they throw the cage in, and it has an open top. So I'm like, okay, well, if the cage starts to go down, I will just swim to the top and get out that way. I was the first one into the water. Like, my husband and I went in first, and everybody else is like, at this point, I think they're like, oh, like this is like real. Like, there's a lot of sharks in this water. So we get in, and the water is so cold. And like, so we're attached to the boat, and it's just
so are you wearing because you said snorkel gear, are you wearing full diving gear and you're just in a bathing suit and snorkel gear, or
bathing suit and snorkel gear? Yeah. So we get in the cage, and the idea is that the cage, like, the top sticks out of the water, but you're meant to like kind of hold onto the cage and like pull yourself down a little bit. But it was like a washing machine, and we were just like banging into each other. My husband has a GoPro, and he's like, the guy's like, please do not put your hand outside the cage. And the first thing my husband does when he gets in there is he like sticks his hand out the cage, and he's like recording everything. Sharks are asleep at this time of day, which I kind of knew, but I was like, oh, like, I didn't realize like they're so kind of like docile, right? Like, they're just cruising by the cage. They have to keep moving or they'll die. Like, they have to keep having water going through their gills, but they're moving very slowly. But there's like 12 to 14 feet sharks going past us. There were 2 hammerheads in the water. There were 14 Galapagos, and there was a tiger shark that, I mean, they say they were asleep at that time of day. I don't know if the shark was asleep. I feel like he was watching us because he was in the distance, and we actually took a recording of it and put it up on YouTube, and you can see the shadow just like watching the cage. So we're in there, and we're like getting just like people's feet are like kicking us in the face because it's like so chaotic. They ended up pulling us out like 5 minutes earlier than they had wanted, just because it was just so choppy, the water. But I mean, I don't know if I should be saying this. My husband like touched one of the sharks, put his hand out the cage, and he was just like, they just felt like the Galapagos feel almost like velvety. Like, they have a really cool texture to it. Their eyes were amazing. The hammerheads were so So cool. The tiger shark was massive. I've never seen a shape like that in the water. He didn't come very close to the cage, but you could definitely see him in the water. We were in there for maybe like 20 minutes. It seems a lot longer than it actually is. Like when we came out, I was like, oh wow, like I felt like we were down there for like at least 40 minutes. And he's like, no, it's 20 minutes. We would have left you guys down a little longer, but the weather, like we have to get you up and get the second group in. And I think the second group went in for 5 minutes, and 3 of the girls were from Australia, and they were like, yeah, like we can do this. And they came up and they were just like throwing up everywhere because it was so choppy.
So
But
they're in the water throwing up? Oh my God.
throwing up
Oh.
everywhere. And they're like, man, like even the waters in Australia aren't like this. Like this is insane. So yeah, it was a very, very cool experience. I felt like there was just so much adrenaline going through my body at the time. Like there is an option to go outside the cage swimming with them, not with the particular group I was with, but if you can go with Ocean Ramsey, who I did meet, but I didn't go diving with her at the time. She's like, yeah, if you guys ever want to come back, like you can go outside the cage with us and we'll actually go like free swimming with the sharks. So didn't get a chance to do that. Do plan on doing that. And she swims with the great whites. Like there's a great white out there called Big Blue that she goes swimming with all the time. It's a massive female great white shark. But yeah, that's the story of what it was like for us to actually be cage diving with them. Yeah, we came out. There's still a ton of sharks swimming around us, and it was the most unreal experience I've ever had in my entire life. It was the most profound because I wanted to do it so badly. I actually did it. It felt like such an accomplishment, and just the adrenaline, the pure joy that I was experiencing was just unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing story and such an amazing experience and feeling and emotions
Yeah.
to have. That's incredible. As you were talking, because I don't know if you've been to Belize or not. Sounds like you do go towards warm weather, so and you like diving in the ocean. I would definitely recommend going to Belize. And we were snorkeling, and we did. Now I forget what kind of sharks it was, but they were there. They were around us, and they're not violent. Like they're not the type that would
like
attack.
sharks, like
Yeah,
the father ones. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just kind of hanging out, and it
Yeah.
is. I mean, the ocean is just such a whole other world.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're sharing your experience, mine is there's absolutely no way I could do all the bumpy water. I would have been like, okay, I'm out. I'm going to try this some other time. But otherwise, it sounds like such an incredible experience worth having. And it sounds like the experience lived up to what you were imagining and what you were expecting. And, the sharks were as magnificent, and as, you felt that connection, being near to them had that reward that you were seeking from all of those years of being so fascinated with them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an unreal experience to be. I mean, if you've gone snorkeling and stuff, to like just be in the water, it's like, it's the super calming, peaceful experience, as well as just, for me, with the connection to ocean, it's a surreal experience. It's like so much happiness, adrenaline, but also so much peace, and also wonder. Like the ocean is so big. You're like, there were 14 sharks with us. Like I cannot imagine how many more were out in the vicinity or below us that we just didn't even see. Like it's mind-blowing how huge and vast our oceans are.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's amazing. So it sounds like it's definitely a experience you recommend to others, and that you're still planning on going back to get to swim with the great white shark. That sounds like it's still
Yes.
on your list.
Yeah. My husband's family is from Africa, and I mean, to go down to South Africa and go cage diving, I think would be surreal. I mean, that's where they base most of Shark Week out of. I'm like, I gotta go do it. I've heard, if you think, apparently if I thought Hawaii was crazy with the waters out there are absolutely insane. Australia would be very cool too. My husband lived there for a while. I'm not sure if he'll get back on a plane to go there. It was a long plane ride, but that would be a cool experience to go to Australia and cage dive with the great whites there as well.
Wow, amazing. I hope it all happens for you.
Yeah,
So,
post coronavirus though.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that story. Before we start playing the first time a lightning round, how can people get in touch with you and what services do you offer?
Thank you so much for that. So you can find me across all social media platforms, Balance by Meghan, Meghan. You can also go to my website at www.balancebymegan.com. I offer yoga and meditation. I do a lot of right now online workshops. I have plans for a couple of virtual retreats. In person, I'm hoping to get back to in-person international retreats again soon. Yoga videos. I have like an online membership that you can join for $10 a month. And I've recently dove into the world of human design. So I'm offering an online workshop for that as well.
What's human design?
I feel like this could be another whole podcast episode. Human design is your energetic blueprint. So it's not a personality test. It's based on astrology, physics, the Kabbalah, the I Ching, the chakra system. And it's literally where you were born in the world, like micro specific, the time of day you were born down to the minute. And it just tells you how you were meant to optimally work in the world, how you're meant to live, interact with others, connect with others, how you're meant to make the most aligned decision. It's absolutely blown my mind how accurate these charts are. And when you really start to embody them, how much everything is just like in flow and like the least resistance.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that little piece of education.
TED Talk, yeah.
All right, so it is now time to play the first time at lightning round. So the way it works is I'm going to ask Meghan 10 different first time options. If it's something that she's done before, she's going to say up or swipe up. So it's similar to if she was on the 365 First Challenge app. If it's something that she's never done, not interested, then we go left. Something she's never done, would like to do, then we go right and we add it to your list. Okay. All right. So use kettlebells.
Swipe up.
Swipe up. I figured, based on your background, I figured so. But do you remember your first time that you did a workout with a kettlebell?
Do I remember the first time? Yeah, it was just at home with a couple of friends. I think it was like not even like a YouTube video at the time. I think it was like a DVD set. And just those little things are like much more intense than you anticipate them to be. You get through the first like 5 or 10 reps and you're like, yeah, I'm killing this. And then 20 reps in, you're like, what the heck is this?
It's a tiny weight.
I know.
It's under control. No, I don't. Yeah. Okay, next one. Eat Lebanese cuisine.
Oh, swipe up.
Swipe up. Okay. Play the slot machines.
Swipe up.
Remember your first time playing the slot machine?
Yeah, we have like this little casino out near me, and my grandmother is obsessed with the casino. And to this day, I still don't even know what I'm doing other than I put money in and I hit a couple of buttons, and I've won like $200 before, which is exciting. Not a million, but $200 was exciting.
Not a big, well, I live in Las Vegas, but I'm not a big gambler. If I am going to gamble though, I rather play, card games or something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll put money in slot machines, but it's one of the, like, it just spins. I have no control with this.
Like, I don't know. The colors are cool and stuff, but like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. Invest in mutual funds.
Oh, swipe up.
Swipe up. How old were you when you did your first investment?
My dad is super into that. I think I was like 18 or 19. I honestly don't even know. My dad was like, "Were you going to put some money here? You're going to put money in this place and you're going to put money here." I was like, okay. I couldn't even tell you what I'm invested in other than I have investments.
Okay, very well. Go to Jazz Fest.
Swipe right.
Swipe right. Adding it to the list. Okay, next one is fly a kite.
Swipe up.
Swipe up. Do you remember your first time you flew a kite?
No, just was with my dad and my brother. Don't know what kind it was.
Okay. Do cryotherapy.
Oh, swipe right.
Swipe right, adding it to the list. Play baseball.
Swipe up.
Swipe up. Ride on a ferry.
Swipe up.
Swipe up. Remember your first ferry ride?
Toronto Islands. I would have been like 8 or 9 years old.
Okay. And the final one is knit. Knit something.
Swipe right, not well, but swipe right, or sorry, swipe up, not well, but have done it.
Have done it. Is that something else you did with your grandmother or?
That was actually fashion class in high school, and I don't even know why I was in that class. Honestly, I was not good at it.
Well, but you gave it a try.
I tried it though, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we're not naturally good at something, just takes a little bit more effort. Sometimes we're not good at something, we don't like it. Sometimes we're not good at something, but we like it and we keep doing it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways that can go. All right. Well, that concludes the first time lightning round. So the final question is, how have you been making the best out of the current situation with the pandemic?
A lot of my stuff, I've wanted to be online for a very long time as far as like my yoga and meditation goes. It hasn't truly impacted me other than seeing what other people are going through. My business has kind of just migrated more so online. I was doing some local teaching. Unfortunately, one of the studios I worked for closed permanently. They just couldn't bounce back from this. The other studio I was teaching at was prenatal, and they won't be bringing back prenatal anytime soon. So I miss the inter community connections, but I think there's a lot to be said for having a lot of things online. I mean, you and I connected online, and I don't think that would have happened had we not had this opportunity to be online. So I think there's a way that I've been able to look at it in a more positive way and bring a lot of my stuff into the online space.
All right, fabulous. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it has been the opportunity to move what they do in their business online. And then the beauty with things that are online and that are recorded and they're there, when things go back to being able to go back out, it's like, oh, well, this already exists there. It's going to continue. And now I have this other branch of my business. So
Yeah.
it does create that benefit, and that, because you never think you have the time to do certain things until in this case, COVID's like, I hold my beer. Here's all the time in the world that you have to finally
you have the time now.
Yes, you finally. And now once I know in Canada the situation is different. It's one of those things. I'm originally from Canada. I'm not gonna lie. If the US,
Where?
I was born in Edmonton,
Okay.
but I grew up in St. George, Quebec. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
in sixth grade, we moved to Massachusetts, and a few summers ago, I drove across Canada. I had
Cool.
driven across the United States, half a dozen times, and I'm like, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go drive across the homeland
Yeah.
to go see what it's all about. And I really wanted to make my way, in regards to what does it mean where we're born. So I was born in Edmonton, but I didn't grow up there. My parent, I was just a few weeks old when it took me back to Quebec. I was like,
Okay.
well, what does it mean I was born there? What's in Edmonton?
Yeah.
And it's not entirely too much there, but Alberta, and the mountain, because I love the mountains. I have such a they just, my heart just sings when I'm in the mountains. And when I got to Alberta, I was like, oh, well, this explains it. This is where I was born. This is
Yeah.
I was meant to be surrounded by mountains and in the mountains. So it's one of the things when I had been to Las Vegas many times, and when I came back and was considering moving here, I really paid attention to, Las Vegas is surrounded by mountains. That's something that people don't think about Las Vegas being that way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's so exciting. A fellow Canadian.
Yeah. So, yeah. Depending on what happens in the next election, I might definitely go back to Canada. Yeah. Yeah, British
Amazing.
Columbia is so beautiful and so amazing. So
Mhm.
there's great places in Canada. All right, well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for sharing your story and playing the
Thank
first
you.
time lightning round.
Thank you so much for this. This has been a fun conversation.